this thing on? It is. All right, welcome back to the channel. I'm Shoot DaRock. We're once again talking some college basketball. Going to be recapping the best games here from this week in the power conference ranks, as well as, talking a little bracketology. It's March. We're less than a week here from selection, or less than a week here from the power conference tournaments, less than 2 weeks from Selection Sunday. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and then give my predictions for some of these conference tournaments that are starting here today on Thursday, as well as some ones that started yesterday. I already tweeted them out, but just kind of going it over here on the pod. So if you're into college basketball content, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to follow the show and rate 5 stars. And let's get into it. All right, so we're going to start by looking at Joe Lunardi's Bracketology, which, granted, this came out on Tuesday before all these results, so it's maybe a little, not super relevant at this point, kind of outdated, but I do just want to touch on it quick. So his last 4 in, he had Santa Clara, Ohio State, New Mexico, and Indiana, which, granted, New Mexico lost yesterday, so they're probably going to be out now. And then his first 4 out, Auburn, San Diego State, VCU, Virginia Tech. And Auburn is why I want to go here, because I want to start here with what Joe had to say off the top, where he said, "I try to avoid debates without clear right or wrong answers, but Bruce Pearl's argument against Miami, Ohio as an at-large team requires context." So for those of you who don't know, Bruce Pearl, on TNT's college basketball coverage over the weekend, was going on about how Miami, Ohio is not one of the best teams. They don't deserve in. So you can kind of read the thing, or maybe it's hard to read there, but then it's just kind of, now I suppose if it's possible, Miami's the worst undefeated of all time, and Auburn's the best 500 team we've ever seen, but it's way more likely Pro will be better off leaving the bracketology to the professionals. And I just love that quote from Joey Brackets there. Usually, there's maybe some Joey Brackets slander. And again, pick your favorite bracketologist, pick whoever. I like Bracket Matrix as a site too. It kind of balances everyone out. But really, the thing there is spot on. Is people complained last year. This drives me nuts. People complained, oh, March Madness is washed. There's no Cinderellas. NIL's ruining it. Hey, you want to know how we have more Cinderellas? You let them in the dance rather than being. And again, this is very hypothetical. Miami could win the MAAC, and then this is a nothing burger. This isn't going to matter at all. But Akron is a very good team. That's why I think this is such a possibility. Where honestly, Akron is going to probably be favored in that game, which again doesn't matter. And honestly, let me pull that tweet up too. That was a good one as well. So this tweet that I retweeted here, where this Capper Central account goes on. Auburn's a 6-point favorite on the road against Miami, by the way. And then Callan Fullerton here points out, it's all the bettors. Every single one, everyone has something to say like this, and look at their bio. They're fighting. Yeah, and that's what it is. And that's why, I like Rate Game here. Shout out Rate Game. They're no bettors on Rate Game. The gambling slop, it's ruining sports. And I agree, because everything now is just oh, well, this team would be favored, so clearly they're better. Oh, yeah, because when you're gambling, the team that's favored always wins, right? This hypothetical, oh, we have to play these hypotheticals of this team against this team, they'd be favored, so they should be in. That's not how it works in sports. It drives me insane. I don't know, eventually, the eye test needs to come into a factor. So many people now, they just watch basketball with spreadsheets, and they don't actually watch basketball. Like I said, they just do this, where it's this team would be favored against this team. Auburn is not a good team. If you watch Auburn, they're not a good basketball team. That's what I'm saying. That's why you can't just show up in March. If you watch all year, you'd realize this Auburn team is not good. Yes, they beat Florida on their home floor. Other than that, they stink. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. They're not playing good basketball. Miami, yes. Do they maybe pull out some close games against some not very good teams? Where it's would it be nice if they were blowing those teams out? Yes. But that's how sports work. Some days, especially 18 to 21-year-old kids, however, granted, who knows? Now, with guys like Chad Baker-Mazara, they go up to 26. They have bad days. That's how athletes are. That's how humans work. So I just can't stand this, Miami's not good. And again, it could be nothing, so I'm probably freaking out over nothing. But, if you want more Cinderellas, and I guess that's my point, is we'll go back to the bracketology here. Let the VCUs of the world in. Let the Santa Claras in. Have, like I said, now New Mexico's me out. Have these smaller programs that haven't gotten the chance against the big guys often this year. Give them a chance, and then that's how you will get Cinderella runs again. But instead, no, we'd rather have Indiana, Auburn, and Virginia Tech, who are not very good teams, in the dance. So that's kind of my little rant there. But let's kind of get on to some of these results here for these teams. We'll start here first on Big Monday. And granted, this is a team at the top of the bracket. But Duke clinches the outright ACC title with a 93-64 win over NC State behind 26 points in this one from Cam Boozer. And honestly, I think I tweeted out, we just need to not have NC State and Syracuse on Big Monday next year. The ACC game, especially when it's involved those two teams, is usually just kind of ended up being a blowout. Duke led it by as much as 32 in this one. Granted, NC State actually did get off to a good start. It was tied 18-18, but then after that, Duke just completely ran away with this one, proved they were the more dominant team. It was not something I saw coming, in all honesty, which granted, maybe it's a little bit of the Duke bias here, being this team has historically not played well in Raleigh, so I was a little scared by that, but then I'm getting the win. 26 from Cam Boozer in this one with 9 rebounds, 6 assists as well, so really big game for him. Dame Sarr with 16 points and 3 triples plus 9 rebounds of his own. And then Isaiah Evans and Patrick Ngongba were also in double digits with 12 and 11 themselves. So on the NC State side, I don't know. We've seen too many performances like this from NC State for me to really be high on this team. After, anytime it seems like they really have a big test, they really just don't show up. Darion Williams, their leader, was 17, but he takes 17 shots, including 11 three-pointers. Bro was just chucking. And then Quadir Copeland was the only other guy in double figures where, he was just kind of trying to talk shit and get under Duke's skin, and Duke's too good of a team where that's just not going to work. And, that's kind of Quadir Copeland's. Granted, like I said, he's a good player. He's fun to watch, but yeah, it's not going to work against a team like Duke. And then looking here, Matt Abel at 9 off the bench, same thing, 12 shots for him. So just guys from NC State just were not shooting the ball well enough for the Wolfpack to be competitive in this game, and it really just was all Duke. Duke outscores them 42 to 28 points in the paint, 10 to 2 fast break points. Points off turnovers, NC State actually had more, but Duke pretty much just dominated all facets of the game. Like I said, led by as much as 32, led for 85% of the game, clinched the ACC title, so shout out to the Blue Devils getting the win there. And then the other Big 12 game, or the other Big Monday game in the Big 12, and this one, honestly, we've been getting some Big 12 bangers, was not one of those. Arizona, same thing. It's just kind of them and Duke, I think, are the two best teams in the country. They win 73-57 against the 6th-ranked Iowa State Cyclones, handing Iowa State their second straight loss, behind 17 points from Jaden Bradley. This is another one. Arizona led for the majority of the game. Iowa State was sticking around in the first half, but then second half, Arizona just kind of pulled away, or not kind of, they did pull away, lead by as much as 21, just end up blowing out the Cyclones. Behind 17 from Jaden Bradley, he's their leader, as well as then Mo Krivas had 13, and then 11 from Braden Burry, so the really good game there from the front court. Tobe Awaka also had 10 and 15 off the bench in this one, so it was senior night for the Wildcats. Really dominant game. Anthony Del Orso with 8 as well, hitting 2 threes. And yeah, they just proved they're the better team, just absolutely dominated this one. On the Iowa State side, 17 from Lipsy to lead the way, but takes 15 shots, as well as then 14 from Jamarian Bateman off the bench on same thing, 14 shots. And then 12 from Joshua Jefferson on 17 shots. The Cyclones shot 29% from the field as a team, 23% from 3. Just a really tough night for them all around. Looking here at the other stats in this one, points in the paint, Arizona 24-16, 17-9 in fast break points. They just dominated. Like I said, I really think it is a class of Duke, Arizona, and Michigan. They're going to be the 3-1 seeds. They're going to be top 3-1 seeds. I think Duke right now probably has the inside track for the number 1 overall seed. But, if they fall in the ACC tournament or fall again here to North Carolina, which I'll have that preview out tomorrow, I'm going to have some guests on for that. And then, they could get surpassed. But right now it's looking like those 3 teams. And then it's, Florida and UConn, I would say, are right behind them, where it's which one of those teams to get the last 1 seed? Same thing, they played. So I think right now it's probably inside track to UConn. They'd have to, I would say, probably, like I said, not win the Big East tournament and I don't know, maybe lose their game this weekend. But like I said, I don't really see that happening. Anyways, it really doesn't matter. I feel like those 2 teams will probably get put in the same region as the 1 and the 2 seeds. So I would say right now those 5 teams are kind of the class above everyone in college basketball, with the Duke, Arizona, and then Michigan even a class above the Floridas and UConn. So shout out to Arizona for the win there. Now we'll move on to Tuesday, where we had an upset, and like you saw, TCU was one of the last teams in the field. I don't think they're a lock now, but they definitely are in the field. And it's looking pretty good as they go into Texas Tech, and they win 73-65 behind 20 points from Xavier Edmonds in this one. A game where this was the first time you can kind of finally tell, Texas Tech struggled a little bit without JT Toppin. Christian Anderson had a good game, but you could definitely kind of tell where TCU kind of seemed not in control, but they were the better team in this game. Like I said, 20 from Edmonds, 15 from Micah Robinson, 14 from Jaden Pierre as well. And then Edmonds had a double-double with 12 boards. David Punch, only 6 points, but adds 10 boards as well. On the Texas Tech side, Donovan Atwell was the leading scorer with 19. Anderson had 11 and 9. So like I said, good game for him. It was just not a good game from the bigs where, Luke Bamgoye had a huge game over the weekend when they beat Iowa State. And then same thing, like him and Lawan Watts, they combined for 8 points, only 5 rebounds between the two of them. That's just not going to be good enough. Jalen Petty has a good game as well, 17 points for him. And I guess that's the thing with Atwell, too. He's the leading scorer, but he took 17 shots. Like Texas Tech only shoots 45% from the floor and 34% from three. Which, granted, TCU only shot slightly better, but it really does kind of end up being the difference in this one. Looking here at other stats, like I said, TCU led for most of the game, granted only like 54%, so it wasn't like they led the entirety of the game, but they definitely led. They dominate 38 to 22 points in the paint. That's what I'm just saying. I feel like the defensive presence of Toppin was really missed in this one. We'll see here. It really just kind of, like I said, depends if, Watson and Bamgoye come to play, which on this night I feel like they really didn't here on Tuesday. So that kind of ends up costing Texas Tech there. Same thing, TCU, 18 points to Texas Tech's 11 off of turnovers. So yeah, really nice win there for the Horned Frogs. They're such a weird team to figure out. Let me just pull up the TCU schedule here. Like, they start the year by losing at New Orleans, but they've played Michigan close. They beat Florida. They beat Wisconsin. They should have won this game against Kansas. But then, yeah, like they just have, like I said, the weird loss against New Orleans, the loss to Notre Dame, like just some weird results. The loss at Utah, who's not good. Like, if it wasn't for those losses, like they would be squarely in the tournament right now. Like, I don't know, probably like a 8 or 9 seed. But now, like, they're going to be like a 10 or 11, probably just sneaking in. But this was a big win to go a long way in getting them in the dance. So shout out the Horned Frogs there. Then we're going to stick in the Big 12 on Tuesday, where we had another upset. Arizona State, they beat Texas Tech at home last time out. Now they knock off Kansas 60-70 behind 23 points from Mo Odom. Had a huge game in this one. Arizona State never trailed, which was kind of crazy. And for this one for Kansas, it was Bill Self. Bill Self got ejected in the first half. Granted, maybe a quick second tech. Like the first tech definitely warranted probably a quick second one, but gets ejected. I want to say Jock Vaughn got a tech as well, the Kansas associate head coach who becomes the head coach when Self isn't around. So, but honestly, like those guys at times kind of had more fight than the Kansas team on the court. So, like I said, 23 from Mo Odom to lead the way with 5 triples, 5 of 10 from beyond the arc. Really impressive shooting there. And then Masamba Diop, really fun, big to watch. Like I said, Arizona State, not a great team as you hear, 16-14. This is most likely Bobby Hurley's last home game as the Arizona State head coach. But to get the win here, like I said, 19-9 from Diop. No one else was in double figures for Arizona State, but those two at times can be a really dynamic duo there. Darren Peterson does play in this one, scores 15, but on 18 shots, so not a great shooting night for him. Trey White was 16, the leader for Kansas, same thing, 17 shots. Just was a really good defensive effort from Arizona State, and Kansas just really couldn't get shots to drop. It really ends up being the difference in those. Floyd Badunga, 14 and 13, still had a really good game from him. But Bryson Tiller, same thing, was kind of a no-show, only 3 points, 5 boards. With 3 turnovers as well. So Arizona State, on this night, they just kind of ended up being the better team. Granted, neither team shot particularly well from the field. Arizona State shooting 32% to Kansas's 29%, but it ends up being enough to get it done. Looking at other stats, really everything else, like all the fast break points, points in the paint, points off turnovers the points in the turnovers was advantage Arizona State 18-11. But yeah, like I said, they really just neither team shot the ball well, but Arizona State shot slightly better, ends up being the difference in this one. So we'll stick here on Tuesday. Not an upset. It was upset potential, but St. John's to keep pace here in the Big East. They win 72-69 against Georgetown behind 23 points here from Zuby Ejiofor. A game that you're seeing here, late was a close one. Georgetown stuck around. They hung around in this one. They end up leading for more of the game. So it's really St. John's had to come back, come from behind and get the win here. That would have been a devastating loss there for them, because as you see there, they're tied with UConn atop the Big East here. So if they would have lost this game, UConn would have most likely ended up winning the Big East outright, because St. John's still has a tough game on the road at Seton Hall here on Friday night that, like I said, we'll touch on in tomorrow's preview episode. So Ejiofor was the leader with 23 points, 7 boards, 5 assists. Really good game from him, as well as then Dylan Darling had 12, and then 15 from Josen Sannon off the bench as well. So kind of different guys getting it done here for St. John's. I feel like a lot lately it's been Bryce Hopkins being their leading scorer. He didn't have a great night, only 9 points on 2 of 11 shooting, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc. But yeah, St. John's ends up being able to come back, get the shots they need down the stretch to get the win. On the Georgetown side, 17 from Jeremiah Williams, 15 from Malik Mack, 20 from Kavan Mulready off the bench as well. But same thing, like just not a great shooting night, at least beyond the arc. 5 of 16 from beyond the arc for Georgetown. Did shoot better from the floor, but just, yeah, like I said, couldn't get the shots I needed late to drop, and St. John's ends up winning this one. Looking here, other stats, points in the paint, St. John's 38 to 32, even off fast break points off turnover, St. John's slight edge. So yeah, this was one, like I said, would have been a really bad loss for St. John's, but the Red Storm ended up getting the win. Like I said, getting the shots they need to drop late, just kind of a little bit more dominant in the paint. That's where, a guy like Zuby Ejiofor being the best big in this game really matters. So nice win there for St. John's. And then one more upset that we'll touch on here on Tuesday. UCLA, once again, for the third time this year, takes down a top 10 team at home, 72-52 over Nebraska, and this one wasn't even close. Trent Perry leading the way for the Bruins with 20 points in this one, as well as shooting 3 of 6 from beyond the arc with 7 boards, 4 assists. Eric Daly also in double figures with 14. Other than that, it was all just, kind of Sky Clark with 8, Bilodeau with 8, and 8 from Xavier Booker off the bench. But as a team, UCLA shot the ball pretty well, 47% from the floor, 34% from beyond the arc. Better than Nebraska, only shot 39% as a team and 21% from beyond the arc. And Grant only took 18 free throws, but 50% from the line. Not a great shooting night here for Nebraska. And that's the problem with their kind of style they play. When the shots aren't dropping, it's going to be tough. And that's why you see here they end up getting blown out, losing by 20. Like, this one was never really particularly close. Sam Hoiberg was the leader with 12. Then Cale Jacobson and Rink Mast also with 11 apiece. But like I said, just really not a good shooting night here for Nebraska. It's why I could see them as an early exit. I know it's such a fun story. I hope they go deep. I think they're going to win at least their first game. Like I said, they're still going to be a 3 or a 4 seed. Let me look at the bracketology here. Again, which again, this is before that result. But I think Nebraska is pretty, they should be a 3. I'd be surprised if they drop down to a 4. Unless, something just goes horribly wrong in these last couple of games here. But yeah, just a tough result on the Granted, it is tough really going out west there. So I'll give them that. Like I'm saying, it's the third time now. Purdue got knocked out there. I forget who the other one was. Might have been Michigan State. But yeah, UCLA has already kind of knocked off a couple different teams out there this year. UCLA outscores them 26-18 points in the paint. 10-8 points off turnovers. Nothing really big there. But yeah, really nice win there for UCLA. Let me just double check. Who was that other one real quick? UCLA beat Purdue, Illinois, and now Nebraska. All 3 top 10 teams here in the Big 12. So UCLA, a team that here is in, the last 4 byes before this result. So a team that really should be in the field here. So big win for them. Then we'll go on to Wednesday, where a big game in the ACC, the 22nd ranked Miami Hurricanes go into SMU, win 77-69 behind Trey Donaldson going for 17, and then 14 and 11 from Malik Renew, as well as Sheldon Henderson with 11. True Washington, Norm Dorvan also in double figures off the bench. So a lot of different guys getting it done for Miami in this one. And it's a really big win just because, like I said, they just cracked the rankings here. They led the entire game, led by as much as 16. And SMU is a team, I think even said this in the preview, I think if they get in, they could, go on a run here, but things aren't looking great. They aren't playing great as of late. Jaron Pierre, that's why. Jaron Pierre and Boopy Miller combined for 48 points. The rest of the team went for 21. You can't just have 2 guys kind of carrying. And this even Samit Yigitolu's got 12. So that means those 3 guys had 60 of the team's 69 points. I just feel like you need a little bit more balanced attack to win some of these games. Like I said, maybe in a game in March, those 2 could kind of put the team on their back, get a win there. But tough result there here for SMU. Like I said, I hope they get in, but they're kind of continuing to slide here. I'm looking here at other stats. SMU actually had more points paid, 34-28. Miami 15-9 in fast break points, and then 22-13 in points off turnovers. Kind of ends up being the difference in this one. Plus, Miami shoots 61% from beyond the arc as a team. Going to be hard to beat a team that makes 11 threes in a game when, granted, SMU makes 8 themselves, but 8-24. So if they could have got a couple more of those to drop, they would have been in it. But nice win there for Miami. And yeah, SMU kind of got to get things going here pretty quick. So looking here, rest of the results from the week. Monday, like I said, it was really just those two games there on Big Monday. Cleveland State beat IU Indy in the first conference tournament game here of the year in the Horizon League. Other than that, nothing really too notable. It's really just like Southland and some Big Sky games here on Mondays. Moving on here to Tuesday, we had Florida just absolutely dominate Mississippi State, clinches the SEC outright behind 26 from Alex Condon in a 108-74 win. Illinois destroys Oregon 80-54 with Andrei Stojakovic going for 21 that one. Virginia was close against Wake Forest, but they never trailed. They win 75-70 with Tice DeRitter, the leading scorer, with 16 that one. Georgia, I guess I could have probably featured this one. Really nice win over Alabama, 98-88. Georgia's a team that's in the field. Like I said, the Florida winning already clinched the SEC, but then once Alabama lost as well, then it was complete wraps. North Carolina and Clemson was a really fun one. The Tar Heels won 67-63. Luka Bogovac coming off the bench, scoring 20 points, hitting some big shots late there to help the Tar Heels come from behind, get the win. Like I said, big game here against Duke on Saturday for them. Miami remains undefeated, 30-0 now after a 74-72 win over Toledo game. It was close. Like I said, it would be nice if Miami maybe get some blowouts, but so be it. Peter Suter leader there for the Redhawks with 19. Tennessee knocks off South Carolina 78-59. Game was never close. JP Estrella leading scorer with 22. Vanderbilt and Ole Miss was a fun one. Went to overtime. Tyler Tanner ended up being the leading scorer for Vanderbilt, scoring 34 points, hitting some big shots down the stretch there in OT to get the Commodores the win. In the A10, VCU takes down George Mason. It was a close one, 70-65. Terrence Hill Jr. leading scorer there for the Rams with 16 points, so nice win there. Clinched them second in the A10. Oklahoma State takes down UCF 111-104 in overtime behind Anthony Roy going for 27 points. Themis Folks had 22 of his own, so that was a fun kind of duel there. Seton Hall gets a needed win 77-68 over Xavier with 16 points from Adam Clark. Looking at other results here, Oklahoma upsets Missouri 80-64 with Jaden Jones, their leader, with 13. A lot of different Sooners. I want to say all five starters were in double figures in that one. A&M runs Kentucky 96-85 with Ryland Griffin the leading scorer with 21 for the Aggies. A game that, like I said, Kentucky just kind of has these stinkers, and that was one of them. Green Bay in the Horizon League beat Purdue Fort Wayne 64-56. Other than that, I think it was nothing too crazy. I guess late night, UNLV beats Utah State 92-65, where Utah State now, because New Mexico's lost on Wednesday, we'll get to here in a sec, clinches a share of the Mountain West title, but can clinch it outright with a win on Saturday. So then going on here now to Wednesday, we have Houston came from behind to beat Baylor 77-64 with 21 points from Kingston Flemings. Purdue struggled with Northwestern, same thing though, comes from behind, wins 70-66 behind CJ Cox being the leading scorer in this one with 27. Arkansas routs Texas 105-85, was never particularly close. Trayvon Brazil leading scorer with 28 points in that one. SLU rolls over Loyola Chicago 79-65. Adrian McCautry leading scorer with 18 in that one. In the ASUN, we had Bellarmine, Florida Gulf Coast, Stetson. But yeah, those three got wins in the ASUN. James Madison beats Louisiana to advance in the Sun Belt Tournament. Indiana routs Minnesota 77-47 behind 23 from Sam Alexis. Eastern Illinois beats Southern Illinois Edwardsville 77-71, the OVC tournament in overtime. In the NEC, Stonehill, Mercyhurst, Wagner upsets Central Connecticut to advance, and Long Island get the wins there in the NEC tournament. In the Horizon, Northern Kentucky, Detroit Mercy, Robert Morris, Wright State gets the win there. Looking here, any other ones? Gardner-Webb beats South Carolina Upstate in the play-in game in the Big South. Oh, and then this was the last ASUN game. West Georgia beats North Florida 93-85. Ohio State rolls over Penn State 94-62 behind 28 points from John Mobley Jr. Buckeyes should be in the tournament, especially they beat Indiana over the weekend. Wisconsin destroys Maryland 78-45. Braden Carrington leading with 18 there. And then, Colorado State upsets New Mexico 82-74 behind 19 points from Kyle Jurgensen. And then Washington beats USC late night 91-72. Zoom Diallo goes for 26. And then Haynes Steinbach had another big game for the Huskies in that one, as well as Stanford beating Notre Dame 86-78. With Ibuka Okori going for 24. So then here we'll just finish out the night touching on some conference tournament predictions. So like I said, these four leagues started yesterday. I posted it on Twitter yesterday. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I'm posting all my conference predictions on there. So in the ASUN, I have Central Arkansas beating Austin Peay in the final. I think those two teams, like I'd be very surprised if we didn't see them in the ASUN final. They've been the best two teams in the league all year. And as like I said, you can kind of see, I posted this yesterday. I had Eastern Kentucky beating Stetson. That didn't happen. But like I said, I think we're going to get the 1 and 2 seed in that league. And I have Central Arkansas getting the win there. But like I said, Austin Peay would be another good pick. In the OVC, it's one of these ladder formats. UT Martin's been a fun story this year, but I have Tennessee State taking them down in the semis, and then I got SEMO beating Morehead State in the semis as well, and then Tennessee beating Southeast Missouri State in the championship there. I definitely think like Tennessee State's kind of the class here of the OVC, but really any of those top 4 seeds winning it, going on a run here, I wouldn't be super surprised. But also, you got to remember in this ladder format, the 1 and 2 seeds especially really do have a big advantage there, is they only have to win 2 games to win the championship. In the Summit, St. Thomas and North Dakota, same thing. They've kind of been the class of the league all year. I think we get those two in the title game. And this year I'm going to go with St. Thomas to get the win there, just kind of looking at some of the metrics and how when these two teams have played this year. I do like St. Thomas there to slightly get the edge. This one I could see, maybe some madness. There always seems to be a couple kind of crazy results in this one. And, I got Oral Roberts over Kansas City in the play-in game right last night. But I have Denver and Omaha pulling off upsets there. I guess, if you want to consider the 5 over the 4 an upset, I don't know. But definitely the 3 seed or the 6 seed Denver over 3 seed North Dakota. But then, like I said, I have North Dakota State and St. Thomas knocking them off. And then facing the championship, I could see it going either way, but I went with St. Thomas. In the NEC, like I said, we already had an upset here with Wagner taking down Central Connecticut. So it's going to be them playing Mercyhurst. Because they reseed. So it's Long Island, Stonehill, Wagner, and Mercyhurst in the final here. I went with Long Island, but Mercyhurst, this could be a fun one as well. The only thing there I do have to say, if it's Mercyhurst and Lemoyne in the final, both those teams are ineligible for the NCAA tournament because of the goofy transition rules. So then, like I said, if it's a Mercyhurst LIU final, LIU goes to the tournament regardless of who wins the game. Originally, I did have Mercyhurst winning. Like I said, I think they could win, but ended up kind of talking myself out of it. LIU, especially their gym there, fins up, tough place to play. So we'll see here. Maybe, like I said, I have Long Island and Mercyhurst, especially now with Central Connecticut out. That's kind of what I'm liking there. Then moving on to the Big South. So I already got a game wrong there. Gardner-Webb beat Upstate in the play-in game yesterday. But this is a league where, once again, High Point and Winthrop have been the class league. Granted, this is one where it just being a normal 1 through 8 seeded bracket, maybe kind of. There's more upset potential. The 1 and 2 seeds have to win 3 games just like everyone else, rather than just 2 games like in the ladder. But like I said, those 2 teams have been the best 2 teams in the league all year. High Point won the meeting between them a couple weeks ago. I think High Point ends up taking it again and getting the auto bid here. We've seen them in the tournament, a good amount the last couple of years. In the MVC, Arch Madness starting today. This is going to be one of the most fun tournaments. I'm really upset that I couldn't be there, in all honesty. I was really trying to make it work, but with some other commitments this weekend, it was going to I'd have to go Thursday, Friday, and just with the times the teams that I want to see Maley Bradley playing, just didn't really work out. But that's the thing. I really think any of these teams, 1 through 6, could win the final. You see there, I have Belmont and Northern Iowa in the championship. So Belmont's definitely the favorite. I think they're, I would say they're better than, these other teams in the league. But, the 2 seed Bradley beat them when the game was at Bradley a couple weeks ago. So if Bradley, can go on and run there, I could see Bradley as a dark horse here. But yeah, honestly, like Illinois State was the preseason favorite as the 3 seed. Northern Iowa's playing good ball here at the right time. UIC has had an upset potential beating some teams here this year. Murray State, in the non-con and then the starter league play looked like they were, most likely the second best team in the league. They haven't been playing as great as of late, but there's potential there for them. So I think it's Belmont's league to lose, but if you would have told me that any of those top 6 seeds end up winning it, I wouldn't be surprised either. Then in the MAAC, it's kind of the same thing. Merrimack, it's been their league all year. That one gets going today with these playing games with Fairfield, Manhattan, and then Iona, Sacred Heart. But I think Merrimack ends up getting the win there. Siena, is a good team as well as the 3 seed who I have them playing the championship, but it's been Merrimack's league. Give me the Warriors there to get the win in the MAAC. And then the WCC, this one should be fun. Like I said, it's the ladder, which for 12 teams, granted this is the last year that WCC will have 12 teams with Gonzaga, Washington State and Oregon State all leaving for the Pac-12. But I have, not really a whole lot of upsets there. I want to say the one I have, I guess if you call it an upset, I have the 5 seed San Francisco being the 4 seed Oregon State. So Gonzaga over San Francisco, and then St. Mary's over Santa Clara in the finals. which I wouldn't hate if Santa Clara got the win there, because like I said, they're right on the bubble. That could be a big win there if they could beat St. Mary's. And then I have one final Gonzaga-St. Mary's game for the title here in Vegas. I know St. Mary's won the matchup over the weekend, but Gonzaga won the first game in the kennel. Metrics-wise, just kind of looking at projections and stuff like that, Gonzaga is the better team. I think they're going to want to win one more before they leave the league, so give me Gonzaga to get the win in the WCC tournament. But that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys once again so much for watching. Like I said at the start of the video, college basketball season, March Madness, we're right around the corner here. I mean, it's really essentially going. I consider the conference tournaments March Madness. So if you're a college basketball fan, you like this kind of content, whether you've been here all year or just getting into it, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment your picks for these leagues down below. I want to hear who you guys have winning, as well as any other games you want me to touch on, your takeaways from these games this week. And then check out all my other socials. Like I said, I post the tournament brackets, my tournament predictions, like the day the tournaments start on there. But obviously, with my recording schedule, doesn't always line up. Where like I said, a couple of them today, they started yesterday. I'm talking about today, but it was just playing games. So make sure to check me out over there on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, posting a lot of takes from different games. Like I said, I want to say my TikTok recap of all the games on Tuesday night alone was like 20 slides, so I can recap a lot more games on there where I give my takes. Through Rate Game, that's another app I want to shout out. This time of year, Rate Game, good way to track. You're watching all these crazy games to remember them. Give your ratings, give your takes on Rate Game. I know my guy Nick over there, he's gonna be doing like contests for March Madness too, because they've added recently to the app where you can give your picks pre-game and then rate the game after. So they're gonna do like a pick 'em contest where you just pick out, not like a bracket, but like round by round picks during the NCAA tournament. So definitely make sure to go check that out. I can link that down in the description. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, make sure to check out all my other socials, subscribe to the channel here, follow the show on Spotify, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.